Okay. I can just scroll up and down if you want for me to go to a different area if you don't have them in front of you. So the activities there, I think really you can focus mainly in terms of activities on developing effective learning environments if you don't have many things in that. I think lots of you will have loads of stuff in A1 and A2, so you might want to put it in A4. The formative assessment one, I was just saying, A3, if you're using Kahoot in the classroom, that might, for formative assessment, that might be A3. Okay, so think about that. All right, so if I give you 30 seconds to think about your example, and then we'll go around the classroom. Does anybody want me to scroll down to V's and P's? V's and K's? So all of these should be hitting K4, use and value of appropriate technology. So you can see in V4 here, acknowledge wider context, particularly have you addressed changes in the external environment, for example, social media, use of technology in professional practice. Okay, so that's going to be in there in virtually all of them. So if we start with yourself, we start with you, and we just go along the row. So how are you going to use technology differently in the classroom? So having had the discussion, how are you now? Right, folks, can we listen? Because I want to go through these quickly. I want an example from each of you, following on your discussions about one thing that you're going to do differently, okay, in the classroom. So is everybody ready with an answer? No? Yes? Are you all ready? Okay, folks, listen. What we're going to do, I want you've all spent a lot of time talking about some different examples, some challenges of using technology to help your teaching, learning or your professional development. I want one example from each of you. We're just going to go quickly around the room. I want one example of what you personally want to try to do differently, which digital capability that's addressing, and then what part of your PSF you could put that in. Okay, does everybody feel ready to answer that question? Right, you go first then.
I'm going to do the thing that I told you before. I will ask them to share what they have done digitally. I will ask them to share it on the internet, on digital portfolio sharing platforms, where the industry can go and have a look at the portfolios. Mm-hmm. This is connected with digital communication and digital creation, mm-hmm. and it is related to B4. I will address, is it? How have you addressed changes in the external environment?
Yeah, so...
Yeah, they will share it on the social media,
yeah.
And also the people from the industry will be able to see their work.
Yes.
So they will be engaged with it.
Yeah, so social media and technology for professional practice, yeah, fantastic.
Yes.
Okay, that's great, perfect. Perfect answer, right. Anybody else want to give one? Do you want to talk about yours?
Actually, I'm still thinking.
Okay.
Yep. After you said I'm planning to use wikis for one of my lessons because I'm planning to give a group project, mm-hmm. and I want to define the deliverables and what will be done explicitly, mm-hmm. and follow each of them. So wikis is a good way, in my opinion.
Okay. And so what digital capabilities are your students developing by using the wiki?
Computers, most probably.
Mm-hmm. They're going to be collaborating online, aren't
yes.
they? Yeah. Yeah.
Self-development.
Okay. And what which part of the PSF would you put that in?
It seems like A1, A2, and A.
Yeah, so it's going to be design and plan the learning activity.
Yes,
Yeah.
Teach and support learning.
Yeah.
And assess and give back to learners.
Yeah, and so and the nice thing about the wiki is that you can, although it's a group project, you can give formative feedback to individual students. Yeah. And it's actually A4 as well, developing effective learning environments. Yeah. So K4 is already in there. And what about professional values? Again, I think it's this one here, isn't it? Sort of social media use of technologies in professional practice. If you could say that you're using evidence as well to do that because you understand what's happening. Okay, we had one down the front. Did you said you wanted to share one, yeah?
Yes, but I'm not sure if it's about assessment.
Right.
I was assigning articles to each student
Yeah.
to read and research about some terms that they highlighted. But now I saw your example. You asked them to find GM risk-related articles from the media. So I'm going to ask.
Because still have idea.
So they find their own articles.
Yes.
But I'm not sure if it's going to be successful, or how can I make it more successful? Maybe this might be a discussion question. But my aim here is, of course, information data and media literacy skills, increasing that those. And also, I would like them to participate in the online platform, maybe
Yes.
before coming to class, but I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
That kind of digital participation, discussion on one assigned article, not one article that the student finds. I'm going to think about that.
Yeah, I suppose I would say that when I did that exercise I showed you there, it was with very young students, 18-year-olds, they had not been in university long. And I think if I'd have asked them to comment individually before class on articles, I don't think I'd have got much uptake because they'd have felt nervous about putting out an opinion when they're fairly new to university, and is my opinion valid? And I think they feel very reticent about that. But by doing it as a group exercise, they could discuss together, well, what do we think about it? And okay, you might have got some social loafers, you might have got some lurkers, but as a group, they could put one comment between the three of them and four of them. And it starts to give them the confidence that actually there's no, it's more important that they're putting something in there. And then the next time you might actually say, okay, now we've done it like this, you can now do an individual one. And again, I think the sort of, I don't know how much I've spoken about gamification in this course, but by having it sort of competitive, they want to be the winners, they want to be at the top of the social media board. So the groups that got the most articles up there, they were getting the most points, and it was just a bit of fun, So it was like the Kahoot quiz this morning, you get chocolate.
Any reward other than
Sorry?
other than the points? Did they get any reward?
No.
Just the points.
Yeah, just the glory.
Whoever won. Okay.
Yeah, and seriously, sometimes I gave them chocolate, and sometimes I just said you were the winners, and that was, it was a lot of fun. They just people just want to win. When you think about when people do online games, or even in the old arcades, and whoever got to the top of the list, you never got anything apart from your name being at the top of the list, but then people still want to be there, But so I think,
It's like being a part of the community.
Yes.
And that's the reward.
Yes, you're recognised within the community. Anybody else want to give an example of something they want to try? Yeah.
I think it would be a good idea to have the students make a short film on a foreign language, like they're learning work, and post it on YouTube. And by doing it, they have to have video and audio editing skills. They have to be able to use those kind of software, and also subtitling software. And also they can get this feedback on YouTube.
Yes, from the community.
It's not only reliable feedback, but we can look at the comments together.
Yes, yeah. And again, that might be an example. I don't know you know, it might be an example of where you might want to do it within the virtual learning environment first. They can post their videos there and have comments within the group. And once they feel confident about that, then they can expose it to the world. I mean, it depends on the maturity of the group, you know, so they might want to post it within a community first and then have it on YouTube. Or you can put privacy settings anyway, can't you, on YouTube? So. Okay, example over there. Oh, sorry, no, hang on, I haven't finished. Which skills was that developing of these? We'll do these ones first. So it's, I presume it's creativity and media. I know you couldn't read the document. Digital creation. Yeah. Okay, and then in terms of your PSF, where would you put that?
Well, there's certainly a level of participation.
Uh-huh.
And so it's B2.
Uh-huh.
Respect individual, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
Can you move on to the other ones? K1, K2?
Yeah.
I don't know them by heart.
Oh, really? You failed the course. That's it. You'll never be a fellow. You have to have them engraved in your heart of when you become a fellow. So K4, use of technology. K2, appropriate methods. Yeah. And also K3, how students learn, particularly in their specific learning. So K3, how students learn generally and within your discipline area. So you know, if you're learning about language, then you have to be using language in the medium.
And K4 differently.
Yeah, K4. Okay. Anybody else? You have an example?
I'm using YouTube as well for the YouTube. I open the internet and I'm showing a short silent video to the students.
Okay.
About 4 or 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And before ending, I cut it and I try to make students write the possible ends in a writing session.
Okay.
The writing session divides into 2 parts. The first part is about what they see, what they feel about the video, and they write, because it's a silent movie, and they need to investigate the character, and they need to try to depict the characters and also their relationships. And in the second part, they are writing their possible endings and how do they end, and is it a happy ending or sad ending like that.
Okay.
So this is a kind of different activity for this.
Right, yeah.
Assignment.
Okay, and so
A2 and K4.
A2 and K4. Okay. And what technologies, what digital capabilities are your students developing?
So this is the observing skills developed, and also they are using their analytical skills for the possible ends.
Okay.
So critical thinking, and also they need to use their creativity.
Yeah.
Because in the class there are many students and most probably a lot of different scenarios with their eyes.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Thank you. That's great. Anybody else want to make a suggestion? We all done. So I think you're getting the idea about how we can map these things. Turn the video off. I'll say basically you can pretty much force anything into these things if you're creative in your way that you're describing what you're doing. Okay, so you know most of the things you could then put under design and learn. The reason I'm talking about the bottom one there, the develop effective learning environments, because I think it's one that you might have less information in than some of the others. Okay, so it's quite easy. A1, A2, and A3. Quite easy to write lots of those about. So A4, you know, you might want to start thinking about the learning environment as in, you know, think about it as a physical space or the digital space, and start with that kind of tack there. Okay. Yep.
We were discussing during lunch what we were supposed to do about A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. Are we supposed to devote each paragraph of our reflective essay to one of those, and then weave the K's and the V's into that? Or are we supposed to use the A1, A2, A3, A4, A5 framework for describing our case studies?
You have to put, your case studies also have to have all of those in, but they don't have to be paragraphs. So your case study, I would suggest for your case studies you write it like that template I gave you at the beginning of the week. This was the issue, this is what I did, this is what I measured, this was the impact. So just write that as a kind of a short, almost like a research article, okay? And then you just put your A1s and all the rest of it in there. For your reflective account, have that as 5 paragraphs or 5 sections relating to each of the 5 A's. And then at the end of it you put your K's and B's. I gave you examples, didn't I, of fellowship applications when I was first
But we
here.
couldn't take.
Yeah, I'll bring them in again tomorrow, and we'll have. So tomorrow, does anybody else want to share an example of this before we end this part of the session?